All right, so good morning and welcome to this session. We were chatting there off the record, of course, just in terms of some administrative stuff. Um, but again, I would just kind of mention what I was saying. They do have some writing materials at hand if you have to go get them. A notebook is always advised. Let me just, I think I wrote, speaking of notebook, I wrote something there. Some sort of, like um, pen, all of those things now, right? And making notes as you go through the session. So last week we were saying that we had looked at the definitions, I'm admitting people. So we should really try to come in like 10 to 9, right? So that's what I said to you all, like 9 o'clock we should have started, but everybody wasn't in by 5 to 9. We just had about 11 persons in. All right, so we looked at the definitions, health, safety, welfare, accident, well, dangerous occurrence, hazards and risk, right? And I think we sort of left it here. So, um, I, I know some of you all came for your book, and so for those of us with the book, let me just kind of show the page for you, right? And if you don't have it, you can take it down in your notebook. Remember, the same thing on the slide is the same thing in the textbook. But if you have the book, just to say, right, this would have been, if you look at it here, you see the introduction, if you can make that out, and it would have been the same thing, health, safety, welfare, that sort of definition there, right? And so there's no need to learn by heart because remember there, I mean, you have the slide, you have your book, and it is an open book exam. But from what we said, from about 5 to 9, I was kind of talking to you all about the structure of the exam as well, which we covered on orientation day, right? That you can't plagiarize the textbook anyway. You cannot. The one thing to do to fail is to open the book and copy something. Once you do that, you fail. So despite the name, open book exam, you cannot plagiarize your textbook. You cannot plagiarize my notes either, right? You cannot take the notes either. And in fact, you wouldn't need to. If you find yourself doing that, it really means you're answering the wrong question because the questions are designed to make you think, right? It's kind of like saying what did the employee do that was positive? And no way in the textbook would have that. No way in the slides would have that. Where would have that is in the case study, right? So just saying that, like, as I was saying off the record, there were two students in the Wednesday exam telling me that it's like only afterwards they realized, wait, now we didn't use the book. And that's what you kind of have to get the idea of that. The book is there, the book is supplementary, the notes is there, the notes is for me to, expand and break the concepts down for you. But at the end of the day, what you get to do is like a comprehension-based exam anyway, right? Before I officially start, do we have any questions? And then I'll just probably just do a quick review of two things here, and then we'll start. I want to do two things. We have three, but I'll do two because the third one is a bit long, right? And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a bit. Do you have any questions? All right. Well, if you show out of 20 something of y'all, no, nobody have a question. I think it's 21 of y'all, but I guess somebody is absent, right? Um, I'll check it in a bit, right? To check who's absent. In the week, I mean, like those of us, we normally have, if I see any vacancies, but I glimpsed it, to be honest with you. I didn't put it on the group chat. I'm not quite sure what class it was, but I think I saw, some vacancies again, I guess, in Trinidad here. But I didn't, I'll probably look for it and put it afterwards. But again, you all who are here, you know that what they look for is the NEBOSH certificate anyway. Oh, okay, I think I see it, right? Exactly, WellFab, right? WellFab, HSE advisor, right? Actually, this person, right? This the person who did this is actually a student in my school. When I said who did it, like the person who accent for this now, right? Is a student right here, right? HSE advisor, right? So you all know there's nothing more motivating than that now. I mean, other than you wanting to learn, but if you know you want to get a job, right? This is just one. I really based on my schedule. You all are students. We normally ask the students if you all see anything, and that's what happened there. So somebody posted it on the diploma chat, right? So like if you see any vacancies, you all put them out, right? Kind of share them amongst the group and stuff now. So that's the one I saw now anyway, right? All right, you all are very, very quiet, not even as if you all are there. So anybody could say, and I really don't want a hard question, right? So asking an easy question. So like anybody could give maybe one or two hazards, like maybe the names of one or two hazards. We had probably done about maybe 10 last week, I think. But you could remember like some names of some hazards.
Slip
Electrical.
trips and falls.
Okay, very good. Electrical, we have Edons, slip trips and
Trips
falls,
and
yes.
trips, yeah.
Noise.
Um, just now, let me get this one. Celine,
Mechanical.
mechanical, very good. Okay. Anybody else? One more and I'll start, right? One more. So
Yeah,
mechanical
Edon.
is a
Fire
good
and
place.
explosions.
Fire and explosion, right? Very good there. Um, yeah. Okay. Anybody else? One, no, that was the last one. Okay. So let's start, right? How many of you have your books? I know some of you came and collected, but the stock's still looking high enough from here, right? It's looking like more than 20 still here. Anyway, the thing is, I'll do it on this slide, right? But I'll kind of show you here still. So let me just go back to the objectives. So, the objectives of this session, if you look at this is actually here since last week, right? To facilitate meaning towards the following themes: the moral expectation of good standards of health and safety, the financial cost of incidents, insured and uninsured. So that's my objectives for today's class. Now, there is actually a third one. You hear me say, so this, if you have a book, you could write that down. Um,
Yeah.
there are like three main reasons then to manage health and safety, right? And one of them is moral, right? It's not very big in the textbook. I mean, actually, I think I may have more things on this slide. Don't know if you can see that, right? So the moral reason, right? I mean, it's just like that on the page, right? We actually may have more things on this slide. But there are three reasons then to manage health and safety. One they say is moral. Hey, what? I'll write it on the slide for you. It's right on the notes on us. I give myself double work. But the reason for writing it is because it is important, right? When you will see me sort of start to write something, you know, it's like it have past papers there. Otherwise, I'll just read until I come up to a past paper, right? Or what is famous for exam now? So we have moral, we have financial, and these are the reasons to manage health and safety there, right? Like it's sort of better to manage health and safety. Like what does financial mean? It's kind of better to manage health and safety upfront than to deal with an accident, right? So when they say there are three reasons to manage health and safety, I'll tell you what moral means in a bit. But financial is kind of clearly understood now. Like it's sort of better to repair the machine. It's better to give the worker um like a new pair of shoes or boots as opposed to having something fallen on his foot, right? Or maybe the boots, you know, would have been defective, sole sort of maybe unstuck from the rest of the boot, or maybe dry rot, than to deal with the consequences of maybe that person getting injured there, right? The boots may be 750 TT dollars, uh, maybe close to 30,000 Guyanese dollars or less. I mean, that's probably a high price of a boot anyway, right? But it's better to do that than to deal with the consequences of an accident, right? So when they say there are three reasons to manage health and safety, moral, financial, and the third one we would not do today. But well, the third one is sort of long. By the time we finish moral and financial, that will be the class, right? So next week will be legal. The thing is, it's on this slide though, if you wanted to read up on it. And I'm not sure if you all have subscribed to the Shadrach Safety Institute YouTube channel as yet. All of these lessons are already there. This week, one of my degree student, I'm not sure I can remember his name, Michael. You know, he was telling me like one of the things he do, and I sometimes get lost to with it. Not saying that I want to get lost with it, but you know, like in traffic, he was saying, you know, like in traffic, when he's in traffic, yes, of course, you say your prayers in the morning and, whatever you're into, right? Hopefully something inspirational. If it's early in the morning, it should be something inspirational. Of course, it could be coming up to carnival season too, but, I mean, like whatever you do in the morning. And so like Michael was saying, like in the traffic, like when he's going to, because traffic could be bad, like he would have the recordings, then he would just get into YouTube. Most people have data and data plans on their phone, and he would listen one of the sessions. And but my response to him, well, I thought he wanted to punish himself, but I mean, he said no. Some people do enjoy the lessons and whatever have you, right? And he said that's what he do, and everybody like based on your time and like that's me too. Like I don't have time in the evening and I don't have time in the workday, but like if you were stuck in traffic, I'm not saying listen to it for an hour. You could listen to your music, whatever, right? But if was something you wanted to do, you have that now. So that's the purpose of the YouTube channel. You could scroll down and move the bar a bit if you want to get to the end of the lesson, etc. Right? So please do that for me. Now I would see it. Don't let me waste my time talking about this because we are saying you have free resources on the YouTube channel. You could actually see the legal reason without being in class next week or prep for the class next week, right? By getting on the YouTube channel and having a look at one of those videos you have, you have more days in the week beside it, not Saturday then, right? Anyway, so Wednesday, I was telling you on Wednesday, this was the question they asked legal, right? And so if you're writing this down, what I would want to tell you is that today I believe is your second teaching day, right? But this concept is very popular for exam. So I don't know if you want to take a note of that. It's like um not putting my head on the block, but in most exam papers, you either get a question on moral, a question on financial, or a question on legal. Some students are lucky. So today's lesson is very important, which is why it's on YouTube. Like not every lesson, remember the end of the day. Anybody can remember how much questions you have to do? Just an average. Anybody remember? Is it like 20 questions or is it like 10 questions? Or is it how much questions do you think we have to do to the end?
9 or 10?
9
9
or
or
10,
10
right?
questions.
So on Wednesday, they got eight, right? They got eight questions. So, like the point I'm trying to tell you, right? The point I'm trying to tell you is like you don't have to wait for 3 months down the road then to say, okay, I want to do a past paper question. You don't have to wait to say, okay, like in the fourth month of the course, well, let's do it. No, we could do a past paper today because what we may do in the fourth month of the course, what we may be doing may not be relevant for the exam. In other words, and what I'm trying to tell you is that we have a course to do, right? And notes to run through, right? But not everything coming is only 8 questions. Some people get 7 questions. Imagine that. Some students get 6 questions, right? I've hardly ever seen 10 questions. I saw 10 questions twice, right? So you kind of have to think now. What I'm trying to tell you is that this is a trending topic then. In other words, come 4 months from now, you may get a question on moral or financial or legal. And some students are so lucky they get both, right? So having done, imagine yourself 2 months from now, remember you're still studying, right? You're still here. But in that course, 2 months, that class 2 months from now may not be important as this one. This one is a trending topic. So please take a note of that, right? So let's go into the first one. Taking that off. Hopefully you all wrote it down. I'm going to take it off. And we will get into that. I believe I put your lesson on YouTube too. Now, I don't normally put it on Google Classroom and YouTube, but I think I did. Sometimes I do that because like it's easier for you all to access it. You could download it, of course, on Google Classroom and have it as well. But sometimes if it's on YouTube, wherever you are, you could just log into YouTube and get it, right? So that's where we are at. I came back to the objectives, but remember, we're looking at moral. So let me read a couple of slides first and then I'll explain it to you. Moral is very easy. If you notice, the rest of the book is just like one paragraph, and we just have like 2 slides in it anyway as well. But the concept is important, right? Let me read it, and then I'll break the concept down for you. So moral reason, the number of work-related fatalities in the UK is sort of high, right? Now, anyway, let me explain this at the end, right? So I'll just read. So the average number of persons killed at work is about 220, about 4 people each week. The average number of workers seriously injured is about 30,000, and that's about 1 in every 17 minutes. There is an expectation, and that's about moral. There's an expectation from society for a safe workplace, and that could drive a safer workplace. The expectation from people then, knowing that you should have proper PPE, that they should have drinking water, the toilets should be fully functional, you should have hand sanitizers, you should have, if it's a microwave to hot your food and work, a refrigerator, you should have drinking water, right? So there's an expectation, and that kind of leans into the concept of moral, but I'm not explaining the whole thing as I'm still reading, right? So it makes business sense to prevent accidents as opposed to deal with the consequences of an accident. The average number of days away from work is about 33 million days. No, that's actually, sorry, 33 million pounds, and that's actually pounds there. Think about the associated cost of that. Just think about it a bit, right? Just stop and think about it. If 33, million days are away from work, and we say the worker was working for $1 for the day, which people don't really work for $1. But if we say they work for $1 for the day, right? Or 1,000 Guyanese then, because I'm not too sure I don't think Guyana have a dollar bill. I know you have some coins that you may have it, right? So let's say we're just working for 1,000 Guyanese dollars for the day, or in Trinidad here, maybe $30 for the day, or $1 for the day. And workers are injured and they are home, and sick pay have to be paid, medical bills have to be paid. If it had equated to just $1, that would have been $33 million lost then. Lost for the company, and not company, but companies in the whole industry then, because of those workers being away from work, right? So the costs associated with accidents are very high then, right? So if you want to, so I tell you, we would have mentioned legal, but I'm not going to do legal because legal, each one of the concepts are standalone then. Like Mama tell you, when you get moral for exam, you get moral for exam. When you get legal, you get legal. When you get financial, you get financial. Um, some students are lucky because, out of this one class today, they get 2 questions for exam. Wednesday had one question on law then, right? All right, what I needed to do now, I needed to kind of write a bit. I'm going to try to break it down for you a little bit now, right? I'll try to explain it a little bit more. It doesn't have anything more in the book though, right? So the explanation is my own. And then I'll try to tie it to a passive, and you'll see how easy it is, right? Just keep in the back of your mind, people, NEBOSH is easy. After all of this, you don't have to remember no figures. You could open the book if they ask you for a figure. Well, they don't ask the figure. So let me not say if they ask the figure. Nobody's going to ask you any figures. So don't learn anything, right? Try to understand the greater thing, which is which is the concept. So what do they mean by that? What do they mean by there is a moral reason to manage health and safety, right? And let me tell you, so what they mean, just give me a minute, right? You can take it on. Yeah. So what they mean, so listen first, right? And then I'll kind of try to summarize it because not even my explanation would they ask you. I'll say that again, right? Try to understand it a bit first. Not even the explanation, because they wouldn't ask you to explain moral. They'll ask you like to get the moral things from the passage then. So let's try to understand it a bit first, right? So what moral means, listen first, I don't write as that. What moral means? Moral means like your sense of humanity. Moral, I say it a couple, I'll say it in three different ways. None will come for your exam, right? Just try to understand. Moral means like your sense of humanity. Moral means like you should take care of another person, your workers, because they are a human being, right? So when you say there are three reasons to manage health and safety, we are trying to appeal to your sense of right then, your sense of righteousness, right? Your conscience. So you could write those three words down if you wanted to, so you'd understand what moral is. So when we say the employer has a moral duty to take care of the employees because it makes business sense to prevent an accident then, right? We are trying to appeal to, we say employer, but remember that person is a human being, or at least we want to believe so, right? A lot of businessmen tend to be, well, I mean, I would say men, women by nature tend to be a little bit more caring then, right? But if you look through the lines, then you look through the you look through the generational lines, um, and not just generational lines. If you look at what's going on in the world, right, where the wars coming from, right? Normally, it's men that start wars, and that's just how it has been now. We check back to the times of the Viking, and those of us who look at things, like Game of Thrones, and of course they are the queen, of course, there are different characters there too. And I'm not just saying it, but I'm not just saying it's men, but what we're saying is like most managers or most senior managers, when you reach where you reach, then you may have had to become a bit hard. You may have had to, climb the ladder, then the corporate ladder, step on other people's toes, step on other people's head, step on your friends, cut throat, as they say. But we're trying to appeal now that when you are at that position as the employer, we're trying to say you're still a human being. At the end of the day, we all going in the same place, right? So when we say there's a moral reason to manage health and safety, folks, you all understand it. Moral means, if you want to write more things down, it's not the law, right? Moral is not the law. As I said, these concepts are three different concepts. When we say the employer has a moral duty, we're trying to say to the employer, if you are going home to your home, then you should expect the employee who left their home and their loved one to go home as well. You should have done your best, and this is how it's seen. You should have done your best. The employer should have done their best to ensure that the health and safety of the and welfare of the employee was looked at. There should have not been any, where's this slide? Hazards. There should not have been any uncontrolled hazards then. The employer has a duty. And yes, we know it's a law, but moral is appealing to that higher sense then of saying that you should not have waited on OSHA. You should not have waited on the inspector. You should have done it because it was the right thing to do. Tell me if you understand that a bit. I'll put two words. I'll shout out the words again. I don't know if you want to write them down, but remember, this is not exam. This is just for you to understand. Moral means it was the right thing to do. You do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Right? So it's the right thing to do. So did you all take them down? I'll put three. Please remember, these are not exam. This is just how we explain what moral means then, right? So it's the right thing to do, right? So if you see a worker on a height without a harness leaning over, you, the employer, should not leave that person there, right? And there have been famous accidents in the world where these things have happened, of course, in Trinidad too, where the employer knew what was happening and was wrong, but just left it the way it was, right? In other words, then, I wouldn't want to say that for all countries, by the way. Let me just finish up what I write in here, the right thing to do. Another thing we spoke about here, remember, anybody remember some of the words I said? I kind of forgot all the words I said. Another word was we try to
Humanity.
appeal to humanity, right? Good, right? So you want to appeal to your sense of humanity, right? Yeah. Anybody remember another one? Conscious, yeah, like your conscience. Have any one of you all here? I mean, we all went through the pandemic, right? And the fact that we're here meant that we survived now, right? Do you all know anybody that passed away in the pandemic? Was it any family members of yours? I'll tell you why I'm bringing this up, right? Because what I'm trying to say is that that'll be on your mind still now if it's a family member, right? And what we're trying to say is that as an employer, if one of your employee died, it should be on your conscience, shouldn't it? It should be that you don't sleep well at night, especially when you could have done something better. You could have, if it was a vehicle that lost brakes, which actually happened, I could give you the stories, I just wouldn't give you all. right? You the employer should have said you should not sleep in the night. The managers are pariah, they should not sleep good in the night. It should be on your conscience. It should bother you because you should have done something about it. You should have had suitable rescue in terms of pariah, right? And in terms of the other company, so they should have done training for their drivers. They should have done it. What would have been the cost? $500 to do training? Than have to deal with OSHA and have to deal with a debt? They should have done what was the right thing to do. So let me give you a chance to answer it. Any one of you all work in companies where maybe somebody have passed away? Anybody know any? When I say passed away, not of natural causes, right? But maybe due to a workplace accident. Anybody had such an experience? If not, thank God. Thank God, right? Imagine, look, the morning of the Paria accident. I know I think I shared something on this last week, but do you know I had students in my class? Like I had the niece, I had cousins of the people that passed away in the class. Of course, we had to let them come off the live and whatever because it was, I mean, at the time of it, when the news had just broken, the hope was still to find some of the divers and whatever have you, right? And I have students in that company who were in the class and they have told me, and I've had the experience, and that's why I asked you all to now, right? Like you don't get over it in the first couple of days. Physically, you don't get over it, right? You give yourself like about, I mean, you don't get over it at all. But physically, like there are things that happen to a person if one of your employees passed away, and you know, at least it should happen if you are not that hard. That's the point of trying to talk about humanity, right? So moral means that sense of care. If you want to take another word down, your sense of care to your fellow man that all, I would say persons. I'm not even going to say managers because it doesn't matter what level you are in a company. They refer to it as a duty of care, right? But I put your care for your fellow man or your fellow human being, right? So if you understand, Tim, if you understand what moral is all about, and now I have to link it to the case study. Remember, we cannot fool ourselves. This is not a course to fool yourself. Some courses you could fool yourself. Like if it's an in-house course now, like okay, you say you understand and fine at the end of it, but with NEBOSH, remember the end of, especially when I say something is a trending topic, just I tell you we would not have gotten beyond moral and financial today because it doesn't make sense to read the slide. If I read the slide, you would know how important this was, right? The topics that are not trending, I would read the slides and I'll tell you, I'll say, look, there's no past papers on this. I think we should just read it and move on. But not today. Today class is a powerful class, right? Not every class is like this, by the way. Next week too is also kind of like this. But I will tell you when they set up, I'll tell you, look, it's sort of like your maths teacher but back in school now, secondary school, or your English teacher. The English teacher will tell you, look, short stories are very famous for CXC English. You cannot pass CXC without doing a short story. Correct? Anybody remember that? Yeah. But then there's something the English teacher will be teaching, and you all kind of all know, well, that's not too popular for exam. Something with Telegram. I can't remember. My days was kind of old days. Right? I don't know if they still teach Telegram and stuff, right? But some things it's kind of iffy if this will come. Today is not like that. Today is not an iffy day. These things are very popular for your exam, right? All right, so if you understand it a bit, I want to kind of link, just give me some feedback if you understand what moral means. Moral appeals to your higher sense of care then. Nothing to do with law. Just have to do with you as a human being, that you should do the right thing. So if you're okay with that, just give me a couple of verbal responses. Remember, it's been recorded.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you're okay,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
all
sir.
right, good. Thanks very much.
One thing, yeah.
So,
One thing I wanted to say, even though you're working, one thing you just always on our toolbox is something is always say, and I used to be a brother's keeper. So no matter
very
what
good.
job you're doing, you look out for
Yeah.
one another.
Yeah. So you could write that down too. That's a nice way of thinking about it, to be a brother's keeper. You appeal, like, it didn't have to be with the manager or the HSE person coming by. You just look out for the next person now because, like, the military, I mean, sorry to use a bad example here, but the military have, that saying, we all go home, or anybody know the rest of it? We all go home, or what? Anybody know it? We all go home, or nobody goes home, right? And it's kind of like that sense now, right? And I was saying that some people think that Trinidadians and maybe Guyanese are not loving people, and that's not really true, right? I think everybody have both capacities in them. You could be a hater, as everybody know, but you could also be somebody that's different too, right? You could be someone that is like a leader that is respected in the workplace, right? And like it's not, it's like I think you feel better even if you don't get the thanks, you feel better knowing that you would have stopped somebody from a speeding forklift, or you would have done something morally than as a fellow worker than having had that person crash and then to hear, okay, well, Frank crashed and broke his foot and damaged his back and he's in a wheelchair and he has two kids and I mean it's better for you as a human being to say that you do your best. That energy is better than saying that and I think we kind of left, for those of us who lived through the 80s and 90s, can leave some of that hate energy back down there anyway, right? All right, I've taken this off. And let me refer to the exam a bit, right? So again, if you have your writing materials, these things are very important now that we are writing it. So um you all know, I mean, before I take a look at the question, so what they will do, so you all know you're getting a case study, right? And we all know that the answers are in there, right? So just to refresh your memory from orientation day, you're gonna have to write about 3 to 4 lines for every answer. And if you wonder, well, what am I writing? You're kind of writing, first of all, anybody remember what you're writing? I just putting it back here for you. Like what would the first line be like? Or maybe you forgot.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
choose the line from the scenario.
right, very good. So I'll put that here. I'll put that as the second point. So what you want to do, I'll put in back case study there, case study line, right? So you want to refer to the case study, but you'll want to say what would have done wrong then. Remember, moral would have been, like they will say, identify or maybe comment on 10 moral things that was wrong, right? So then when they say that, you notice now that none of the words in the book will help you. And none of the words that I spoke about before would help you. What you'd have to do is go in the case study and see what the manager and them was doing wrong then, like what was unacceptable, right? So the first thing you're doing is that you're giving your opinion. Just if you want, you could write a word up for me, the marker stuck a bit. So you're writing your opinion. So you're saying something like, in my opinion, what was morally wrong is that, and if you see something like this, say the worker wasn't trained or something, you can say it was that the worker was not trained. And then you link it to a line in the case study. You say, this is seen. Am I going too fast? You say, this is seen in the case study where, and you have to go in the case study and find the line where it maybe didn't have, like the manager didn't care about training. So you quote it, you can put it in inverted commas that say, this is seen in the case study where the supervisor said that training is not important, full stop. It's not a long 3 sentence because remember, this is part of it. You're saying, in my opinion, what was morally unacceptable or morally wrong was that there was no supervision. Like I given you another one, right? No supervision. So you're kind of given an answer. The first thing appears like an answer, right? But the answer have to be supported with lines or a word, not a word, sorry, a phrase from the case study, right? So you're saying, in my opinion, what was morally wrong? Could you just put that one for the answer, ANS, right? What was morally wrong was that there was no supervision at company XYZ. Full stop. That's how short it is. And then you say, this is seen in the case study where it was mentioned the young worker was left to work all alone. And that's it, folks. It cannot be hard. Nobody could tell me NEBOSH is hard if that is it. And that is just, that may be about 3 lines. And that is it. And then you move on to your second one. And if it's a 10-mark question, you're going to have to get 10 like that. The second one, watch me a bit. You have to set it up. Each one is marked separately now. So the second one, you're coming back and you're saying, in my opinion, what is morally wrong was that there was a lack of supervision. This is seen in the case study where the young worker was left to work alone. When you reach the third one, guess what you're doing? You're saying again, in my opinion, what was morally wrong was that the worker was not trained. There's a scene where the CEO mentioned that production is more important to safety. Tell me how we start in the fourth one. How we start in the fourth one.
In my
In my
opinion.
opinion.
Right. So don't get tired of it. Now, what I tell my students to do is just type the line. Remember, your exam will be typed. Just type the line and just copy it back now. Like till you reach the point of giving back the answer. So the fourth one to say, in my opinion, what is morally wrong is that. And I will copy that and I'll put it like 10 times. And I just find a different answer for each one then. So if you all do that, now I know today is a second class, but remember it's not a long course, right? Especially something this important, right? Like the last day will come. How we had 2 classes on orientation, about 15 sessions, and I mean you have about 13 more sessions, right? The last day will come, right? And some of the students on Wednesday, I was actually happy. Now, some people messaged me and said, okay, look, they finished. Now, here the time. The time was about 5 o'clock in the evening. And once it's about 5 o'clock, I am happy because that means the person followed my technique now, right? You're not writing a whole set of big paragraphs, right? I think I had shown you Janelle Lewis' paper, somebody who got about 70 something, right? And if it and so a lot of the students said they found the technique to be very important now. Like you don't have to go and type all the time, in my opinion, just copy it and paste it in and just find a different answer, right? All right, let's take a look at a question. Yes, moral is actually finished. I tell you don't have to go far to get past papers, right? Now we're not gonna do it, but I wanted you to see it. Just had to figure what I did with it, right? Okay, I think this is it. Did anything change for you all in your view? As yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So what I'll do now today, remember today we are actually doing 2 important concepts today, right? So you can actually get 2 past papers today, but for working people, and I mean, this is how it has been in the school, we have always given 1 question. So I don't know if you want to write this down. So I'll issue you a question Monday, and you can type it up and send it back for me by Thursday. We advise that you type it, don't write it, type it up because you have to get practice typing too for the exam, right? Don't handwrite the whole semester and in the last exam, like you didn't practice the typing skills as well. So type it up as a Word document. I'll try to send you the same question. It should just take 1 page because it's like 10 answers and you're kind of giving them 3 lines each and send it in by Thursday. I will give you a feedback on it. So Saturday, I'll tell you, I'll kind of record who's doing it and, keep it for that purposes anyway. And I'll give you a feedback on it Saturday, like how the class did. But you'll get a feedback individually when you send it for me by Thursday. If you finish it before Thursday, send it. You finish it Monday night, send it. You finish it Tuesday, send it. Wednesday, send it, right? But Thursday, I want you all to lock it off, right? So Thursday is like your deadline to actually get it done. It's not a hard question. Nothing in NEBOSH is hard. Just remember, it is a case study. What's another word for a case study is a comprehension, right? So let's have a quick look because remember we have to do financial too, right? So we have a case study here. Sorry, this was December paper by the way, right? We have a case study here. Just about 2 pages, 3 pages for the most. That's 1 page there. 2 pages, right? And then we have some questions. Today's your first day. What's your question? Health and safety morals, right? So now, not every paper will have a moral question, as I was saying, but out of the 3 of them, 1 of them will come. Wednesday paper, February paper, they didn't test moral, they test legal. So your paper, they may test financial. They could come back to moral, they can do whatever they want to do. It's NEBOSH, right? It have really nothing to do with me. Just like CXC, the people who sat in your CXC paper had nothing to do with your secondary school teacher. It's just a different entity altogether. CXC is in Barbados anyway, right? All right, health and safety morals. What's your question? What was unacceptable about the moral approach to managing health and safety when the accident occurred? You should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. And I already gave you 3 examples before we came to the case study. The purpose in showing you the passive is to tell you, you didn't have to wait for the 4th month to say, okay, I want to do a passive, right? Okay, look at this. They were actually lucky. See number 4? That is financial. This is financial. So having done 5 months of a course, 2 questions came on the 2nd session or 3rd session. This is what we're going to do now, financial. If you look, when we say we're doing 2 things today, moral and financial, this is financial, right? So out of the 3rd day of class, how important today's class is, right? They had, let me see how many questions, they had 6, 7, 8, all right, they had 9 questions, and everybody loves number 9. Number 9 is the easiest question in the world. You don't even need to take the class. But number 9, when I made we wanted to take the class. Number 9 is chapter 3. All our students are trained to look for a health and safety culture question. Culture questions are the easiest. Like watch it. Comment on how the peer influence on warehouse workers may have negatively affected the health and safety culture. So they want 12. You have to go in the case study, appear and see how the peers and them was influencing the other workers negatively. 12 answers for that. A lot of people love the culture question, right? So kind of keep in the back of your mind. I keep saying NEBOSH is not hard. But listen to this, it's not easy either. It's somewhere in between, right? It's not a free certificate. This is not Costard or Cipriani where we print in the certs in the office and giving you. This is the real thing coming from England. So your paper have to go to the UK for marking, and you have to write well. You have to write how I showed you, right? You have to write well. You have to present, your paper to a UK examiner. But context-wise now, if you follow what I tell you how to do, you'll have none to worry about, right? If you don't follow and you start to do your own thing, you're writing, like a whole page at one point, you'll just get 1 mark, right? There's a way they mark. 12 mark, 12 short responses. Each answer must have an answer, and each one must be linked into the case study. You must say, this is seen in the case study where, and you find a line in the case study, right? Tell me what you think. Just taking a look at the paper. Remember, like I said, to teach without doing a past paper, it's like to shoot this course now without aiming, right? Remember, at the end of the day, you have an exam to do. So most of our students are very well prepared because you realize we do it from orientation. From orientation day, I was showing you the exam paper, right? From orientation day, I was talking to you all about how to answer the question. So by the time of exam, you all are just prime, and hopefully you are my students who said, folks, I had students who told me they felt as if they didn't do an exam. They said they felt it was a breeze, but that's Trinidad slang, right? I had students who said they felt they didn't feel it then because they were well prepared. But also remember what I said, I had a student who didn't prepare and she didn't get to submit. Part of that was because of work as well, right? But I still think it had more to it than that, right? Some students don't do assignments. Then you all come and ask, what is the school's pass rate? Some students, when I tell you all, do assignment by Thursday. Let's see how much of you all will do it by Thursday. And then you all ask, what is the pass rate? I said the pass rate is dependent on you all. The classes that do well, the people that do well will pass, right? That's how it has always been, right? Even with CXC, right? Your maths teacher or English teacher not printing a certificate and giving you. You have to do your CXC paper and going for correcting. If you studied or if you knew what was needed, but then you will pass, right? But if you didn't do what was needed, your best friend will pass because they studied. Both of you sat down together. Just think back about your school days, right? 3, 4 people lining together or hanging out together in a bunch. 2 of them pass or 1 of them pass, and the rest of them didn't pass. What was the cause of that? Was the teacher a bad teacher? Maybe. Secondary school is kind of crazy sometimes. But let's assume you had a good teacher, right? Let's assume you had a good teacher. What was the reason? If it's 4 friends, what was the reason? It comes down to you, right? And this is what this course is. This is not, like I said, there are some courses in the region where they will just print a certain, like we will print a certain in the office and give you. This is not that. When you hold a NEBOSH certificate, why do you think the vacancy is asking for NEBOSH? Right? Yes, we talk about brand recognition, but because the way it's examined, it's independent. When you hold it, you should feel proud, right? Like I think I showed you pictures of students who have this. They feel proud because remember, nobody gave you this. I didn't give you it. You earn it, right? And how hard is it to earn? Folks, how hard is it to go in the case study and find 10 things in a passage that wasn't being done right and then kind of link it to, well, say it, in my opinion, what was morally unacceptable was that there was a greater focus on production. First up, there's a scene where, how hard is that? Is that really hard? We're not doing trigonometry here, right? Is that really hard? What do you all think? Is it really hard? I just asking, is it really hard?
No, but
It's not hard, right? Yeah,
So
yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. You said, well, if it have 12 marks, you would have to give 12 answers, right?
Yeah,
And you would have to pull those answers from the
yeah.
case study. Is
Yeah.
it that it would only have 12 reasons that it could pull, or will it have more than 12 and you just have to find 12 out of those however
Okay,
it would
two
have?
two things there. Sometimes you really do have to look for the 12,
Mhm.
and then sometimes you actually will have more than 12. So to answer
Mhm.
your question, a student in the Wednesday exam, a question was worth 12 marks. She said she put 25. So I had to so I told her my opinion. I said, well, they wouldn't mark. You cannot get 25 marks at 12-mark question. I said, but she said she finished, right? So I said, here what? Well, I mean, good. But if it was me, I would have stopped. I would have probably stopped at 15. But she said she saw 20 was negative indicators. Like it was like the last question here on this paper. Remember, this was not the Wednesday paper, right? But remember, culture is a trending topic too now. So they asked them 12 negative indicators of safety culture. So you should put 25. In my mind, I was saying, like, in my mind, I didn't tell her that. I was saying if you get 15, you could have stopped and just go on to our next question because you cannot get. So to answer the question, yes, it may have more than 12 or whatever mark, but then at the same time, sometimes you have to kind of really look for it. You have to read with a pencil in your hand, read, as they say, until you could find it. But it is possible to get more than 12, but it wouldn't give you more marks for it then, right? It's kind of like, I don't know how to say it, like maybe you send somebody to the supermarket, but he only had $20. But he came back with a whole set of stuff, but you only have $20. Now, if they leave the goods with you, fine, but you only pay them $20 now because you really only had $20. So they cannot give you 25 marks for a 12-mark question, right? But I think that's a good thing there anyway, to know that it may have more, but based on time, you should probably stop and move to another question. Yeah? Yeah.
And
But
so just before you continue, one more thing. See now she put 25. What if out of those 25, she got like 10 wrong or something like that, or 20 wrong?
all right. What I know, right? What I know, I don't know if it has changed. So if this video gets back to NEBOSH, I want to make sure that this is correct. So NEBOSH will stand to correct me on this. And what I know is that what they do, they mark until they get 12 marks. So what that means is this: if number 2 was wrong, right? But number 15 was correct, they will mark until they get 12. So they'll mark her 25 until they get 12, right? They mark the 25 until they get 12. When they get 12 marks, they have to stop. I don't know if that has changed. Um, this way of marking could have been before the pandemic. I'm not quite sure how they marked during the pandemic. So I would say this is how I know it to be. But I don't know if that has changed during the pandemic marking, if they will keep marking until they get 25. I kind of feeling no, but I'm basing it on what I kind of feeling in media and says no, but I'm basing it on facts then, like before the pandemic. If you had put more answers and there was 12 marks available, they'll mark until you get the 12. So it may be a good technique, but I'll stand corrected there in case, that needs to be corrected anyway, right? All right, let's get to the other one. Let's get to financial. Going back to the slides. So, financial is just as easy as moral. Tell me when you see back the PowerPoint, huh? You all see back the PowerPoint? Moral reason should be back on your slide? On
Yeah.
your view, sorry?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, good. All right, let's go to financial. Now, what I could do, I'll do the same. Let me just read one or two slides and then I'll just break it down for you. All right? I'll read one, I'll read two. Actually, from here is actually just answers already. Financial
Sorry,
is not.
before you go on,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about submitting something Thursday. Is that after we done the financial or
No,
is
I would
this
just give one question. Yeah, remember I said for working people, I wouldn't give you two questions. I would just give you one question and you can submit it by Thursday. Right?
okay?
The way to submit it, type it up as a Word document and email it back to my personal, well, the Shadrach Safety Institute email, like the company email, right? Now, folks, I shouldn't say the next piece. If by chance you're working and you don't get the finisher by Thursday, still do it. But I normally like to get the majority of the class in by Thursday to kind of judge now, like how you all getting along with it. So by Saturday, I could give you all a feedback, like a overall feedback. How did the class perform on the question, right? Fridays are busy days for tertiary school. So if you're sending by Friday, you might not get it corrected for Saturday. So that's why Thursday is like the class assignment day anyway, right? All right, let's take a look at financial. Financial, I just had to read maybe one slide and I'll explain it because financial is easy. So accidents result in both direct and indirect costs. It is estimated that the indirect cost or the hidden cost of an accident can be 36 times greater than the direct cost of an accident. Direct costs can be insured and uninsured. Insurance, I just read in. Indirect costs can also be insured and uninsured. Financial reasons, similar to an iceberg, the larger portion is often times unseen. We have here, top of this iceberg, you have £1. Down here we have 8 to 36 pounds. We have your insured cost of an accident could be covering injury, ill health, and damage. Uninsured costs could be sick pay, repairs, investigation costs, loss of goodwill and image, hiring and retraining of replacement. Right, let me get it. Okay, just remember have your cameras. Okay, so Jillian, just remember to have your mic on mute, right? They may have taken it off during the discussion anyway. I'll put it back on. Yeah. All right. Here we have just one more to explain. Direct insured costs can include damage to building, product, equipment, and vehicles. The absence of employees claim on employers covered by employers' liability insurance in the UK. Direct uninsured costs can include fines, sick pay, any damage to product, equipment, vehicles, or processes that wasn't insured, compensation not covered by insurance, increase in insurance premiums, right? So let me explain because you realize it's just answer. So the concept of the cost of an accident, if you want to kind of listen a bit, is that it has been suggested and by many psychologists, some of them very old too. This one is actually the one who came up with this theory could have been 1932, right? I mean, you don't have to know those things. I just said it at the end of it, right? So what they said is that whenever you have an accident, you have two types of costs. I'll just use the chart here, right? You have what is called the direct cost of the accident. You can take this off. I think this one is there already, right? The direct, but you hear me using some different words just now, right? The direct cost of an accident. Sometimes they say the immediate cause of an accident, right? Mostly they will say the direct cost of an accident. Sometimes they say the insured cost of an accident, right? These are just like different word plays there, right? But insured actually means something, but I'll tell you what insured mean in a bit. So let's stick to the first concept, right? So whenever an accident happens, you have a direct cost and then you have like an indirect cost, right? So direct and indirect. That's the simplest way to think of it. And then they would sort of change some words on you based on different variation of past papers anyway. No, just yeah, just yeah. All right. So like another way to think of this, some people like they would put the word root. What is the root cause of the accident? That's another way of thinking of it. And one other way would be uninsured, right? Different participants say different things, but the idea is the same. Let me tell you what the idea is now, right? So the idea is this, right? Tell me when you finish, if you finish, right? And the idea is that, and I'll say it yet another way, I'll say it yet another way again so that you understand it in a simpler version, right? These words here represent the words you may find in a past paper. Insured, direct, immediate. Those are the words you'll find in a past paper, but I'll say it another way. And then the cost that is kind of hidden is said to be indirect, root, or uninsured cost. But another way to think of it is the direct cost is what is seen. It's like what is seen is like what you see then, right? Like you see as you get an accident site, you see the forklift made contact with a trailer truck. You see on the ground, God forbid, some blood, or maybe the worker is still there. That's what you see. So if you watch it here now with me, watch it. Watch it with me. You see the injury. You see the property damage. You understand that, folks? The direct cost. You watching and you see, okay, let's say it was a company van, right? Or a 4x4. So you see the damage, you see the forklift, you know, broadside, maybe the left side of the van. So you could see the bumper, you could see whatever, you could see the damage, right? You could see the ill health, you could see the person in the ground is what you see, right? The indirect cost, you could think of that as the knockdown cost. It's like you didn't think about it at first, right? If you read some of the things you will see, but you think of the indirect cost as the knockdown cost. Now, coming out of the accident, I'll give you some simple knockdown ones, right? Just before we read it there. So I put in knock off. Just give me a minute, eh? Knock down. But it has knock down for me, please, and not knock off, right? What am I thinking? Right, knock off. All right, so the knockdown cost, right? So the knockdown cost could have been, we could talk about some easy ones, but I'll give you some good ones. The knockdown cost could have been that worker who was injured could decide to take a claim against the company. So when the company think Frank, Frank, like a breaky foot, right? And we'll have to pay, medical bills for him. They didn't realize Frank was part of a union. They didn't realize Frank went and joined a union, and the union now taking the company to court for $500,000 TT dollars or millions of TT dollars. You understand that a bit? It's the same accident, but it's a knockdown cost, right? It has simpler ones. If you want a simpler one, because of the accident, Frank has left your company now, right? Now, he was the best technician. He was the man to go to service your pumps and your rods and your motors. He was the guy. That was the guy you could have depended on. So Frank has gone now, right? So you lost your staff. And if you want some of it, hiring and retraining or training, you may have to hire 3 people to do the job that Frank was doing. You think you understand knockdown cost now? Yeah? Just give me a minute, right? I have a student, I have a coordinator, I have a question to answer from one of the coordinators, right? Have a look at it. If you have the PowerPoint, you could actually move your PowerPoint a bit to the next slide. Let's have a look at it, see if you understand it a bit, because that is it. What I did, I actually did them on the slides. I don't want to go and overdo them, right? Look, I did them here. I put them in different categories. I have the direct cost, the indirect cost. I'll probably leave this one for you to read. Shouldn't take me more than 30 seconds, right? All right, thanks for your time. Right. So I think if you understand the concept, right, I think we don't remember it's an open book exam, right? So like, okay, like if you go back to a passive, but then if you go back and they say, let's have a look at the passive, right? Because remember we have one here. Luckily we have one open here already, right? So like if we look at this one, right? If we look at this one, here they asked, oh, sorry, are you all seeing it? Are you all seeing the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let's have a read of it, right? Task 4, possible uninsured costs incurred from the accident. So they say kitchen crafts insurance only covers the following costs: warehouse equipment repairs and replacement, warehouse stock replacement. So they have insurance, the company have insurance, and the insurance will cover these. Personal injury compensation, so that insurance is good. Civil claim awards, that's very good. Medical costs, right? So what would the possible uninsured costs be for the organization from the accident? You see 12. So they want 12 uninsured costs. What that means, I was telling you about the word insured. Insured means things not covered by insurance. So these things here are covered by insurance. So if you say any of this for the exam, it would be wrong because what they're saying here, watch it. Kitchen craft. So you see the jump. I wonder if you understand what happened there. What happened there? Psychologically, then there was a jump from the textbook to the exam paper. Don't you sure if you catch that? Like the notes have it one way, but the past paper have it another way. That's what tertiary education is all about. Right? Secondary school is draw and label the digestive system. But tertiary education shows you one thing, but then it jumps it into something higher. That's what it tests reasoning that, right? So kitchen craft insurance covers these things here. So they're asking you what another word they should have said here, but I don't think they wanted to sell it out. I think if they had used the word that I'm thinking about, people would have understood the question better. They should have said, what would the possible, or what should have been here? What would have been the other OTHER possible uninsured costs? You think you understand that? Because you cannot see now medical costs because medical costs is covered by the insurance. And they asking you what is uninsured. What is uninsured is like you have your vehicle, but you're okay, like you didn't go like you didn't renew your insurance, or you forgot to renew your insurance on your vehicle. So your vehicle does not have insurance. Right? Uninsured means it's not covered by insurance. So then you cannot say, if you look at your notes, we cannot say these answers because these have insurance. But you could do some little thinking if you go back to my notes. So we cannot say civil claim, right? But I'm not seeing here hiring additional workers. So then that could be one of the answers. I would have said, I'm not seeing here fines. If you want, could I just give you about 3? Because I don't want to go back and forth. When I go back to this slide now, we could look for the other things because I have it in my slide. So some possible, and if you want, you could think, like, can you think of another cost that is not covered by the insurance? So we see in civil claim, but we're not seeing fine. Fines would be like from OSHA. So you could say like a possible uninsured cost is possible fines from OSHA, and then you just link it to the case study. Another one I'm not seeing it talking about hiring additional staff. Right? Like that wouldn't be covered. I'll give you 5. But here what? I'll give myself double work because I actually have this on the slide. But as I have the question here now, all right, and it's here so that you'll understand that it have other costs that is not covered by insurance. We have things like what about training? Additional training that may be needed. I'm not seeing that here. Right? Training. I'm not
Overtime
seeing
costs.
very good. That's a very good. So overtime cost, right? So look at that. We are even do the thing yet, and you can actually get. I am not even thinking. I'm just writing things down here at the top of my head. What would be some other knockdown cost that is not covered? But we can't take civil claim. We can't take these things here. But we could take some other things. Overtime cost, right? I was thinking about what about things like loss tenders, loss of tender. If there's an accident, look at here from an accident, right? Like a loss of a client. Some companies are like that. If you have an accident, they may not renew your tender, they might give it to your competitor, whatever, right? So loss of a client, loss of a contract, if you want to put that here. Those are the knockdown costs, hence it's called knockdown costs. The things you didn't think about at first. The guy was
Lack
Lack of
talking
employee
about,
morale.
How
okay,
about
so moral is a tricky one because remember, moral was right in your contract, right? Remember, moral is not financial, right? However, moral could work. However, what you have to do, you have to say if the workers are morally affected, like depressed, then if they're depressed and stressed out because of the accident, they realize moral was all about what? We already did that. Moral was all about what? Tell me somebody words I had on the slide. Moral is all about humanity, consciousness. What was one of the last word I had? What was the last? I had four, but what was the last one? It starts with a C. I'll give you a clue. It starts with a C.
loss of
Say it.
credibility?
Conscience is one, okay, but there's another word I use. I don't know if you wrote them down. It's a
Care.
short word. Care. Watch it. So watch what you can. So if you use it more, you have to say the workers may realize that the managers don't care about them. Because of that, they may work less than. Productivity may be affected. Remember, this is a financial question. So if that's the case, you have to link moral to money. Wonder if you understand that. Because this was not a moral question. The moral question was number 2. If you say moral alone, if you say, okay, a possible uninsured cost would be moral, that'll be wrong because it's not really a moral question. You have to say, okay, well, because the workers may realize that the managers don't care for them, they may begin to work to rule, meaning they work to specification. They're not doing anything extra. They're just working the bare minimum, and that may affect production, which may affect finances. You can write that down. Anyway, thank God for the recording. Right? Remember, don't mix.
Increasing insurance premiums.
Very good, very good. So could you write it? I have it on my slides, and by doing it like this, I'm kind of giving, it's easy for you, but I'm giving myself double work. I actually have those things on the slide. Let me go back and show you. You see how easy it was, folks? You want to know something as well? You want to know something as well, people? You want to know something as well? What if? What if you just get 7? You open my notes, right? Well, I'm not opening it because I wanted to look at one thing at a time, right? Zoom doesn't have a double screen feature as yet anyway. Otherwise, we could have opened the 2 side by side and look by that. I will actually look at them, right? You want to know something, people? You know what I was going to tell you? You know, if you read 7 or 8, you know what you could use? You know, you could use Google for the exam. You know, you could just Google it. You could just Google what is. So let's say by you thinking you reach 8, and it kind of out of ideas, like what could be another knockdown cost? Just Google it. But don't take it wholesale from the internet, you know. Like if you Google it and you see an answer is like, let me see, what could be another answer? If you say an answer is like maybe, I'll go back to one I use here, like because I don't want to double think, right? Already thinking about Google. So if say an answer is like loss of contract, don't copy it word for word from Google and just take the idea and say it back in your own words, right? Just say, a possible uninsured cost for the work for the organization following the accident is that they could have lost a tender from their main supplier. Folks, you understand that Google is just giving you the idea, but can you use Google for answers? The answer is yes. Just don't copy and paste. The minute you do that, well, the pass rates then drop already. Right? That's 1% failed, right? But could you use Google? Yes, just say it back in your own words, right? Remember the exam, you're not being supervised now. I am not there. NEBOSH is not there either. You're on your own for that 24 hours. Nobody looking at you, probably God, right? Could you use a friend? Could you phone a friend? Yes, right? That's the beauty about the open book exam. And that's why I say nobody should fail an open book exam. By the way, too, that's why the pass rates here, I've had 100%. I've had 94%, I've had 60%, I've had 54%. Every batch is different, right? Every batch is different. When you'll ask me, in Guyana, I have some Guyanese here. I have had 2 batches in Guyana with 100% passes. Right? I'll say that again. I had 2 batches in Guyana, but I do like to tell people that, you know what, because new students like to think, well, okay, well, if the pass rate is high, but I don't have to do much. You cannot ride on somebody else's success then. Remember, you cannot say, well, okay, everybody does pass. No, everybody don't pass. You think the student who didn't hand up the paper, the pass rate did not be 100% because somebody didn't hand up a paper. Yeah. You understand? So every batch is different. But like I say, if you do what you're supposed to do, like Janelle Lewis, you have nothing to study. You pass your exam and you go on, right? You finish up the course. Folks, that is it there for today. Now I have covered the 2 concepts. Remember, if you want, let me go back to the PowerPoint. I've covered the 2 objectives. We had moral. Let me go back and show you. The 2 objectives for today would have been way up in the beginning. We have moral expectation of good standards of, I explained it, and then we link it to a past paper. You all said you understood it. Moral means what is the right thing to do. Financial costs, meaning the explanation is that whenever an accident happens, there's always the cost that you see like an iceberg, and then there's the cost that you don't see. The theory suggests the cost that you don't see is going to be more than what you do see. But you don't have to remember 1 to 36 or 1 to 8 to 36. The exam question, you also it for yourself. You could use some points on my slides. Nothing is wrong with that. The only catch with it is that remember, you'll take you some time to look for it in the case study to give back the line. Like when you say an uninsured cost is loss of goodwill and corporate image, you'd have to go back to the case study and see where they had something like that. If you say production delays, overtime payment, you'll have to go and find something like that anyway in the case study, right? Today you also saw, I hope you wrote it down. You also saw another technique today. Other than, you saw some good techniques today, you know, like how to answer the question and thing, right? But one of the techniques you also saw was actually Google. You could actually Google your answers. Just make sure you know how to use them, right? Use the book, use whatever resources, you know, journals are out there, HSC journals and stuff. Use your own imagination as well, and you should be able to get to the answer, right? So I will stop there for today because we cannot really start into the law. The law is a little bit long. Well, actually not a little bit long. The law is long, right? So the legal reasons will begin next week. Next week, Saturday, right? What I'll do, I would call the roll and I'll let you all go for today as well. That'll give me some time to not be too hurry when we do it now, right? You know, some of the days we kind of go straight down to 10:30 anyway, right? Once you hear your name, but do you all have any questions? Or maybe if you want, or maybe I could ask. I mean, I could ask maybe three questions for you all. There's the obvious things now. I guess anybody want to say what does moral mean? Like why is it important to manage health and safety morally? What does that really mean?
It is the right thing to do.
Okay, it's the right thing to do. Anybody else? What's another way of saying it? I know I asked these questions already, but as we
A
summarize in the
sense of
class,
humanity.
sense of humanity. Okay, good.
Better
Care
say.
for your fellow human beings.
Very good, right? Very good, Jason. Duty of care for your fellow human beings. Okay, let me ask an exam question, but a technique question, right? How many lines you have to typically write for like one response?
3.
About 3 lines.
3.
Yeah. What would make up those lines? Is it just your opinion? What would makes up the lines on that?
You gotta be the first, you gotta start off with your opinion, the whatever the problem may be, and you gotta pull a line from the case study to back up your point.
Very good, right? Don't overdo it. As today is just your 3rd class, I said, right? As I want to see how you'll do it on Thursday. And then Saturday, I will be prepared to show you maybe how it should have been done. Now, if you follow the instructions, you should all get it correct. If you don't follow the instructions, well, then we'll talk about it on Saturday. All right. Well, while you were talking to Jason, I took your name down. Carleen, I took your name down. Charles and Henry, right? I'm putting you all down. So you all can leave. Do have a good Saturday, folks.
All right, thanks.
I took somebody else down too. I took down Eden.
Yes,
So
sir.
Eden, you
Bye,
could leave
everybody.
as well. Yes,
Okay.
okay, good. Jabari, I have you down. Jabari, Jason, Carleen, Eden, Charles, Henry, right? Let's get to the rest of you all.
All right, later, sir.
Yeah, okay, very good. Deodat,
Okay, sir.
okay. Chanela, cross there in Guyana.
Here.
Okay, thanks very much. Amrish, again, those who took part, you all are my most active class, by the way.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks very much, Amrish, as well, right? Anan, yeah. Devanan,
Yes, sir.
okay, good, folks. Enjoy the rest of your day. Amrika,
Yes, sir.
thanks very much, Amrika. Let me go down to see the rest of you all. Celine, across there in Guyana as well.
Here.
Thanks very much, Celine. Samsung SMT970. Tamika, I'll move on to you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Kalia, Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Thanks very much, Kalia. Tamaya.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Tamaya. Justin. Justin, I think you in Guyana as well. Is it you in Guyana as well?
No, sir.
No, okay. I'm
Trinidad.
mixing up. Trinidad, okay, I'm mixing on the person. I think it's another Justin, right? Jalen.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Jalen. Jalen Lewis.
Yes, sir, you're good.
I good. A bit tired,
Excellent.
but good. You
Long
know,
day, man.
long weekday, yeah. Yeah. And then it continues there. Tyrese is here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Jalen Egad. I think we had Jalen already. Nick, as in Nickel, or Nikali, I believe is how you pronounce it. Tyrese, I put you present, right? Okay. And we have one more? Or we have 6 more, sorry.
Gabriel Victor, sir. I'm not sure if I registered
Right, okay,
as a
yes,
Samsung.
yes, that's what I've seen, yeah. Okay, Gabriel Victor. Okay, good. Gabriel, good to see you.
Nicholas Taylor.
Nicholas Pierre Louis. Okay. Okay. Good. I think I have the rest of you all. I don't, is there anybody in the live didn't hear your name? I have Jabari. I have Gabriel. Okay, folks, that's it. Do enjoy the rest of your day. All the best. Bye.